Morning, friends. One of my favorite foods is jackfruit. Here's a picture of the jackfruit harvest when my wife and I were living in Southeast Asia. Of course, I had some for breakfast this morning. Let me show you what it looks like. And here it is. It's quite a distinctive taste. Now, I can sit here all day long and tell you about jackfruit, that it grows about the size of a watermelon, but instead of a vine, it hangs from a tree. And that when you cut it down, when it gets ripe, it's very difficult to remove the covering. It's like armor. And when you get into the interior of the fruit, it's golden in color, has these big old seeds, and you remove all the seeds, you remove this white looking stuff. It gets your fingers very sticky. It makes it stick together like glue. But then when you're finished, you have a big old plate of jackfruit. It looks just like that. And it has a heavenly smell. It's just one of my favorite foods in the world. But I could sit here and at length describe to you how sweet and how good that jackfruit is. But you're never going to know until you do what? You got to taste and see. Psalms 34:8, that the jackfruit is good. The Lord encourages us to have a personal experience with Him. You know, that's what it says. Psalms 34:8, taste and see that the Lord is good. So you'll never really understand the goodness of God until you and I have an experience with it. And that's more than just reading the Bible. It's more than just seeing ink on a page. It's more than just perusing a book. It's to take the things that we read and ask the Lord to bring it into our life and give us an experience with it. And often, as you get the experience, you get a real understanding of providence and how God works in our lives. You know, it's no accident. These aren't chance meetings in the Bible. When the Lord meets the woman at Jacob's well in John 4, that's an ordained appointment. That's a divine appointment. When he sees a demoniac on the shores of Gergesa, divine appointment. When that woman is brought into the temple, caught in adultery in John 8, divine appointment. You begin to see that God, as you taste and see, as you get an experience, you also see that He has control of everything. Daniel 4:17. Nebuchadnezzar had gotten a little experience, and he said, "The Most High God ruleth in the kingdom of men." You know, the Lord is intent upon giving us personal experiences with Him that we can grow in grace and better understand His plan and purpose for our life. So I like jackfruit, one of my favorite foods. I was in a church in New York, and largely the people coming were from the Caribbean, so people had an experience. They knew what jackfruit was. You can't grow it in Tennessee. And I said one of my favorite foods is jackfruit. And I was kind of hinting that if they wanted to give me a little bit, that'd be fine. And they did, brought me some jackfruit and everything. And when it got time to go home, a lady picked me up, good friend picked me up, take me to the airport. It was very, very early in the morning, very early in the morning. And we were leaving this lady's house. She had said she wanted to give me a present. Well, here's the problem. They gave me a going away gift. The people that invited me, they gave me a going away gift. It was a jackfruit, and it was a big jackfruit. All I had was a carry-on bag. I was traveling light. So I took the clothes and I just wadded them up into like just little knots. I got the jackfruit in the carry-on bag, got the clothes in, zipped it up, and it kind of pooched out the top. It's like a pot-bellied carry-on bag. I was loaded to the hilt. I had some of my clothes stuffed in my computer bag. I was absolutely loaded to the hilt. And as I'm departing, this kind lady, this elderly lady who had just made me a great meal, made me a great meal of ackee and breadfruit, and it was so good. It's a genuine Jamaican food. She says, "Brother, I've got a gift for you." And I thought, oh no, there's no more room. And I said, "Well, thank you so much." And she handed me a can of ackee. Ackee is a really good food that they generally grow in Jamaica and other places in the Caribbean. She handed me this can, And I thought, where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with it? And I thought, I'll leave it in the car of my friend here. And so I put it in my computer bag, got in the car, and took me to the airport. I had the first flight, one of the first flights out of, I think it was a JFK or LaGuardia, one of the first flights out. And as I got to TSA, the security line, I'm going through the line, and I'm one of the first people to go through, and I'm just hoping I can get that jackfruit home, because my purpose was to share it with the folks at the health center. So you put your bag up on the little carousel that slides under the metal detector, the x-ray machine and things. And I put my computer bag and my carry-on bag down, and off they went. And then as my bag went through, they backed it back up. That's not a good sign. It came forward and they backed it back up. And I said, oh, don't take my jackfruit. And as it came back out, one of the security agents walked over, pointed at my bags and said, who do these belong to? And I thought, there goes the jackfruit. And I said, it belongs to me. And he reached over, picked up my computer bag, and he let me have the carry-on bag. I thought. And he said, what do you have in here? And I was so happy. I thought, I'm going to take this thing home. I said, I don't know what's in there. I said, it's just some old clothes, a computer. And I thought, I said, and I got a can of akin in there. And as he took me over the side, opened up the bag, pulled out the can of akin. He said, what is this? I said, it's a can of akin. He said, what is akin? I said, well, it's kind of a food. It's a popular food in the Caribbean. And he said, I don't know if that's legal. I said, no, you can have the food. I said, didn't really have room for it anyway. I said, you go ahead and keep it. He said, you wait here. I need to check to see if this is, if I can let you have this. I said, I don't want it. Please keep it. He said, I'll be right back. So he left, came back with a lady, short lady, and as she began to speak to me, I could sense a Jamaican accent. And she held up that can of ackee, and she said, what are you doing with this? And I said, I'm going to take it home and have some breakfast. And with it, I'm going to have maybe some roti and some dumpling and some callaloo, Jamaican foods. And she just looked at me puzzled. And she said, how? And I said, well, ma'am, spent a lot of time in Jamaica doing some work there. She said, what kind of work were you doing? I said, health education, preventive medicine. And she said, last week I had like a heart problem, palpitations, like some kind of heart issue, and they had to come and get me and take me out of here on a stretcher. And dear friends, I knew when she said that. I saw the can of ackee, I saw this lady, I saw what she was saying. I knew this was a divine appointment. Yeah, the Lord was using that jackfruit to give me an opportunity to share something with this lady. And I did. I said, there are some things that you can do to address any kind of heart disease or heart issues. And we began to talk. She was a supervisor there. We began to talk about what she could do to improve her health. And had a nice meeting. In my carry-on bag, I had a book on health. I don't remember which one it was. I gave it to her. I said, here, you might want to check this thing out, and some easy, simple steps you can take toward better heart health. And I left. And dear friends, when I left, I knew I'd be coming back through that airport in about 3 or 4 weeks. And when I came back again, I went to that same station. And it was, again, a morning flight, went to that same station, and I asked for the lady by name, because I knew her name now. And as I went through security, I asked for the lady. I said, is she working today? And he said, well, she's on a different station. And he said, it's down, number, he gave me the number, it was down another corridor, another, whatever you call it, terminal. I went and I found her. And as I made the approach, I saw her from the back. I walked up and said, excuse me, ma'am. She turned around and saw me. She smiled and she said, how are you doing? And I said, I just wanted to bring you another book. This one was not a health book. It was a spiritual book. It's about Christ and His work in our hearts. This is a different kind of heart disease. This is the kind only Christ can cure. And I said, I just wanted to drop this off and check and see how you're doing. And she said, I'm doing fine. And she took the book, and I said, why don't I pray for you before I move on? And she said, wait 1 second. Went over there, talked to a couple of people, came back. She said, it's too noisy here. Let's go over there. So we went over there in the peace and the quiet. I prayed for that lady. I got her address. When I got home, I wrote her, I sent her email, sent her another book, and had her friend in New York. They got acquainted with that lady. She came into the church. Now, tragically, she died in this COVID pandemic. She contracted the virus and she died. But friends, she died in Christ. It is essential for us as followers of Christ to understand His plan for us, to know Him in a heart-to-heart personal relationship. You can't learn it in a classroom. You can't get it in theology school. You can't find it in a book. Even the Bible is full of instruction. But once you close the good book, you've got to have a good experience. You get to know Christ. You get to understand what the Bible teaches as you have that day-by-day experience interacting with Christ. And then you begin to see that, you can talk about the jackfruit all day, but until you take a bite, you don't know how good it is. You taste and you see that the Lord is good. And as you begin to have the experience, you begin to see His providential working as never before. Now, in Romans chapter 5, verse 3, it says, we glory in tribulation, knowing that tribulation works patience, and patience, it works in experience. We need the experience. Sometimes it may be preceded by tribulation, and it may call for the exercise of patience. But my dear friends, it always brings an experience. And then in Romans 5 verse 4 it says, and then the hope comes. This is where we have hope. So I'd like to share an experience with you that happened to me in northern Kenya a couple years ago. I was in a refugee camp, mostly Sudanese refugee camp in the desert up in northern Kenya. And we'd been there doing some health evangelism, health education courses. I was on my way home, going to go catch a plane, go back to Nairobi, the capital, get on another plane, go back see my wife, go back home. And the Lord gave me an experience there as we're headed for the airport through the desert. I could see that I was tasting and seeing the Lord was good. I was getting a little tribulation, but I got a lot of an experience, and I'd like to share it with you. Good morning, friends. I hope you're all doing well. This week, Darlene and I are in the Bronx, New York City, doing health meetings, but last week I was coming back from the refugee camp in northern Kenya. As we were returning from that camp, the Lord did something for us that I want to share with you. So we'd finished our work there. We were doing a health evangelism camp in a place called Kakuma. It's a refugee camp for mostly Sudanese war refugees in northern Kenya out in the desert. And as we were returning from Kakuma to a regional airport to catch a plane back to Nairobi, well, we had to cross the desert for 3 hours. And during that desert crossing, there were a whole lot of us in this Land Cruiser. We saw, first time in my life I saw camels running wild. So we passed by many interesting sights there in the desert. The camels surrounded the Land Cruiser, and just the beautiful sights and the sounds of desert in Kenya. It was a blessing. The first time I'd gone there, it was at night, so I didn't get to see the sights. But coming back, it was in the daytime. And as we were approaching the city where there's an airport to catch the plane for Nairobi, the big black rain clouds came up. This is where it comes from. And all of a sudden, the monsoon rain started again.
This is our first day here, full day here. this is what it looks like. And there's quite a
Challenge was that in order to get to the city, to get to the plane, we had to cross a couple of rivers, and the river was at flood stage when we got there.
my clothes fell out of my arm.
And we didn't have any time. The plane was leaving with or without us, and we couldn't cross the river. So of course when we got there, all the cars were backed up. A car had been washed off the bridge, and it appeared that we would not be going home that night.
What's going on?
We plan to go home today,
Yes.
but it seems
The Lord has different plans.
there are different plans.
Different plans are in store, huh?
Yep, it's flooded.
I have something to say.
Go on.
When we're interviewing you,
Yes.
you said what mission has taught is flexibility.
Yes.
Practical.
This is practical mission.
They're standing on top of the car.
What?
They
Oh
tried-
man.
They tried crossing.
Oh man.
So until it recedes, then you can pass and remove that car. But the good
And then
thing
when we
is that
cross this one, there's still another road.
We're sleeping
Another
here.
river. We're sleeping here.
How do you guys feel about sleeping 10 people in a Land Cruiser? We have our sleeping bags.
Hardship.
We have our sleeping bags.
This is what this is the price.
We pay for service,
You pay for service.
and it pays well,
And
huh?
it pays well. It pays well.
Abundantly.
Take a video of that.
Man, look at that.
So we sat there, made our plans to sleep in the Land Cruiser, and tried to make alternate plans for maybe getting home the next day or two. Of course, I had a flight from Nairobi back to America that was leaving the next day, the next night. So I was concerned, and of course we prayed, and I just wanted to share with you what God did for us. So we were sitting there watching the Land Cruiser that had been washed off the bridge, looking at all the trucks that were piled up on both sides of the road, and I was just kind of fretting a little bit, to be honest, and praying hard. And then all of a sudden our driver had gotten in our Land Cruiser, and it had driven up to the river and was beeping the horn and yelling for us to get in. I looked at that driver and I said, the Lord's about to do a miracle. He was waving for us to get in, and that was his livelihood. That was his taxi. He was a driver. He would drive back and forth to Kakuma and this town, 3-hour drive through the desert. He was waving at us to get into the Land Cruiser. We were going to cross the river, and the river's still at flood stage. So I saw him beeping and waving. I waved to the others, and we ran over, piled into the Land Cruiser. Darling, here we are. We're packed in like sardines. Here's our honorable driver. And our driver, Simon. Sir Simon. And all the people watching, they had seen us praying as a group. The driver had seen us praying. We all get into the Land Cruiser, and off we went.
I'm actually.
Through every day, all the way, He will take care of you. God will take care of you.
Amen. Amen. Let's thank God. Let's thank God for this.
When we pray.
Yes.
Our Father in heaven, thank you for another fantastic deliverance. Have mercy and help us get it right. Ask you in Jesus' name. Well, you know, the boldness of the driver.
This is a victory of never.
God stirred his heart.
And when those front tires hit that water, we were doing some real serious praying. And when that Land Cruiser came out of the river on the other side, we were rejoicing in the Lord and singing from our hearts.
We're trying to go across the flood, and we believe the Lord's going to help do something to help us God will take care.
And when we got out and then we got to the airport, got on the plane on time, I could not believe that I was on that plane headed for Nairobi to be able to get on the plane to come home to America, because to be honest, I wanted to see my wife. I was hoping I wouldn't be stuck there for a week, but the Lord did a miracle. We were absolutely positive there was no way we were going to make it home. And dear friends, we made it home.
What you did was wrong. You just did your sure.
I think there's a spiritual object lesson in that. Sometimes it seems like we'll never get home to heaven. Dear friends, the driver is not that man in Kenya. It's the man, Jesus Christ. And he's going to load up the truck one day and we're going to head home. So may God bless all of you. Let's be faithful. So God bless you, my friends. You have a nice day. And may God help you today to be walking by faith, to be living by faith, but to be living a life in Christ.